blessed with a championship prosperity the likes of which we have never seen. Cursed by a past riddled with despair. This is BLURSED.
What's up, everybody? This is BLURSED back again. Tuesday, February 14th, Valentine's Day. Didn't realize that.
Or Palentine's Day.
37.
True.
No.
Very true.
Or Galentine's Day. Isn't that today? Shout out Leslie Nope.
Yeah, I can't remember when they did it.
I can't either. I just know it's gals celebrating Valentine's Day. I honestly think we need more cowbell on our intro. Like, I feel like that
more
like
cowbell.
one of us needs to just really bring it in. We should one day record it ourselves with like just instruments around the house and just let the fans enjoy,
Ooh, yeah, we would definitely might lose some listeners if we did that. So those, if you're not watching the YouTubes, those sultry voices are Blake Dodd and our man Aaron Kaiser. What's up, guys? How you feeling this week? How's the Super Bowl?
Yeah, that was a fun one to watch. I know you guys got upset with how it ended. I thought it was fine. It was a holding call.
I wasn't upset.
I agree with what you're saying, Aaron. And the guy and the player who held him even said after the game, he held the guy.
Yeah.
It felt like a weak call. I just wanted to watch the Eagles go score. Like, I wanted to give him a chance. I wanted to see
weird
the
to me
chance
because
happen.
the broadcast, it was like they were showing the wrong part of the play over and over.
Yeah,
but the angle was horrible.
Which was
they were
so
showing.
Frustrating for me. It's like, how do you guys not
was.
pick this up? This is the Super Bowl. Like, show everybody what happened, and they just like kept showing it from the point where he got pulled.
Yeah.
Do you want there to be controversy? Like, that's how you give controversies, by not showing other angles to show where it is a hold instead of just keep showing it over and over again where it looks like it, because it looked so soft. The play looked so soft, and you're like, is that actually what they're gonna call this?
To me, the thing that I thought it also did was, and it wasn't you guys, it wasn't any of our friends, but seeing a lot of it on Twitter, last night, the way the game ended really illustrated how few people know the difference between holding and pass interference. And because I saw a ton of people being like, the ball was uncatchable. It's like,
well, it's uncatchable because he was being held.
Yeah, that doesn't matter. In holding.
Everybody likes to tell on themselves a little bit.
Yes, exactly.
But yeah, I think receivers are good at baiting that call too, because they know if like a hand's on their hips and they give it like a little quick jerk, then that grabs the ref's eye. So maybe that's something that the Chiefs receivers work on. I think it was Juju, right, on that play.
Yeah,
I'm not sure.
Juju, wasn't it? It got me. Sorry. Well, I was just going to say back to what Hayden's point was, which was about selling it, something like that. I watched my favorite soccer team this afternoon just before getting on and saw a prime example. It was great. It was two players running down the sideline. They were tugging on each other's jerseys. One of them's hand slipped a little further up and his fist kind of touched the dude's cheek. And as soon as he touched his cheek, he threw his head back and fell straight on his back. And of course, it drew the foul. It was hilarious.
Dude, soccer has the worst rep for that. But hey, a couple things. You're running for 90 minutes straight, no stops. Like, you got to get a break somewhere. Yeah. And two, it's part of the game. It's the savviness of the game, is knowing when to take those flops.
Exactly, because of the fact that refereeing in soccer is so subjective compared to all American sports. It's literally up to just one dude and how he feels.
Yet they get it wrong less often, I feel like. Oh, yeah. Like way less often.
Generally, Europeans they've been doing it a lot long. This whole society thing, Europe's been doing it a lot longer.
Well, everybody likes to say, like, these players are putting on a performance. People forget that sports are live performance art.
Literally
performance
That's
what
it is.
Yes. Body control. Yeah.
They're right.
So they're doing a great job putting on a performance. You got to sell it. There you go.
That's right.
100%. 100%. What was I going to say? Also, we had the trade deadline too, which we'll get into. But it was a fun weekend though between the NBA, and I know Roger Goodell had to be fuming when the Kevin Durant trade happened, because it's Super Bowl week leading up to the Super Bowl, and then Kevin Durant. That's all people talked about for like 2 days straight, was Kevin Durant being traded. He's already like, son of a bitch. This is my moment. This is our week.
And Kyrie right before that too.
Yeah,
right?
but no, that's still a big deal. But the KD move is that's a
top
could be
5 player
NBA championship winning move. Yeah, you just never know. Which brings me to my blurs of the week, if you're okay with me starting this off today.
Youngest goes first.
Worst of the week.
Age before beauty. Pretty young, I guess.
Lack of
But my
age.
blurs of the week. Yeah, I realized after I said that, I was like, oh, I was wrong. My blurs of the week is Twitter being free. And the reason I say that is because I'm tired of just reading. I mean, I love Twitter and I'm addicted to it, but I also hate reading some people's takes. Like, I just, especially like our own fans, like fans of team, like the team that we root for as well. Because you see all spectrums on Twitter. You see a lot of great takes. You see a lot of bad takes. And I see a lot of stuff. I'm like, oh, wow, I'm learning from this. But I also see takes where it's like the Kevin Durant trade happened, which brings the Suns and the Brooklyn Nets, or two of the teams that talked about trading for John Collins. And that trade happens. And everyone's like, well, we got to keep moving John Collins all over Twitter. And it's like, who are you going to trade him to now? You don't make up a trade partner? Like, who are you going to give him to? Like, there's some other offers out there, but they weren't as good as the offers you may have gotten from the two Suns. So that killed me. Seeing all the stuff yesterday, like Aaron was saying on Twitter about passing interference or holding, like, Twitter just annoys me so much around big sport events because I just see all a bunch of dumb takes. And part of me wants to just tweet at them, every single one of them, like, this is the stupidest thing I've ever read. But it's not going to help them. It won't change any minds. So I try to ignore and keep going.
It's kind of funny because, like, if Facebook's an echo chamber, Twitter's like, I don't know, the opposite of that, in the way of, like, you see the stuff that you want to see, but it usually is stuff that pisses you off and doesn't agree with what you think, which
it's a doom scrolling chamber.
It is.
And especially when, like, people feel like they have to stick up for something, like the John Collins stuff. There's fans that feel like they have to stick up for John Collins way more than he deserves to be stuck up for. Like, he's having a bad year, all things considered. Like, and people are like, yeah, he kept him part of the team. It's like, well, we kept him part of the team because there was no great offer. We didn't have anything to, like, no one offered anything for us wanted to have to trade him. Like,
those are the same exact people tweeting about, like, Marcus Mariota. He got a bad rap in Atlanta. You know?
Oh yeah,
he should come back next year.
Woo, dude, it just So I get tilted on Twitter, and Twitter's been less enjoyable recently, anyways, with all the new Elon updates. Like, what's the whole For You thing and the following?
It's I don't less understand. Free now too. You said it is free still, but old Elon's like, hey, you could pay me $8 though. You know?
Well, that's the thing is, I don't know if you've noticed, you can now see how many people have viewed your tweets. I've gone back to see my older tweets. I get way less. What's it called? Interaction now than I used to, and it's because they've changed it.
They throttle the definitely. You get more exposure if you pay for Twitter Blue.
That's I mean, he's ruined one of my favorite apps of all time, and I still use it because there's no alternative yet that's worth it. But when it comes, I'll move so quickly.
It's tough because so many millennials, and I mean, I don't know, maybe other generations too, use it as a news source, and that's what I've used. Like, technically for, I don't know,
3 years now,
long time, 12 years. So now it's like trying to find an alternative, and I've actually like been reading periodicals, not physical form, digital.
Of course,
of course,
naturally.
Not a caveman. So it is hard finding an alternative there.
There's one app
that'll step up and make it a little bit better.
There's one app you guys should check out that I've been using lately. It's called Truth Social.
We got to get the truth from somewhere.
We got to start preaching the truth on there.
I do love that retweets. Their version of retweets is called a retruth.
Keep spreading the truth.
Retruth it.
Hayden, what's your blurs this week?
It is a little bit of Ronald Acuna, mostly because he's kind of becoming a hot button player around the Braves fan base. Just because I don't know why everybody gets pissed off at him, and I started to feel it a little bit too. So he played in the Venezuelan league this offseason, which is good. Got some at bats in since he didn't play a full season, and he wasn't allowed, or the team didn't allow for him to play in the World Baseball Classic, or so it was. Now he has been approved to play in the World Baseball Classic, which I don't love because, one, nobody gives a fuck about the World Baseball Classic. It's not FIFA. It's not the World Cup. It's not ever going to be that. But they try to play it up that way, and like I guess it's good for marketing for the sport and stuff. But so I don't like him coming off of an injury-plagued year and then like pushing it. And this is pushing it, and like spring training is not like that. And like you're not going to go all out every day or whatever, but playing like for your country, and I get wanting to do that, but maybe not after coming off a injury year.
Yeah.
I read more into this because I like I said, I read people's posts and people talking shit about Acuna as our best player, and it's like, why are y'all talking? So apparently, like, some other Venezuelan players came out and were talking ish about Cunha not playing, saying like, you don't do anything for Venezuela. So then he had to like chirp back at them saying like, look, I put up better numbers than you've ever put up. And then Venezuela, his own like Venezuelan, I guess, for fellow citizens were upset with him for him not playing in it. They felt like he's letting them down. So like, I think he has a lot of pressure coming from his home, and I get it. Like I get why he wants to play and so do it for his home team. So I'm not going to get mad at the guy for doing it. I think a lot of people just need to leave him alone. Like, just let he owes you nothing. He owes the fans nothing. We won a World Series already. Are we way better team with him being a beast? Yes, but I think him being happy is part of him playing well too. So I don't know.
Especially with how emotional of a player he is.
Yeah, he plays
emotional
with
players need to be happy. That's what they feed off of,
or they're not going to play well.
I also think that perhaps that Caribbean countries and South American countries, or Central American and Caribbean countries, take pride in the World Baseball Classic more so than a lot of other things, because that's a sport that they have excelled at the world stage that I don't think they can say that about any other sport, even soccer. So it probably means a little more to them too.
But I get what you're saying too. Like, it's blurs though, because I
totally agree with Hayden. Yeah,
it's concerning. Like, I don't know, baseball is not high impact like basketball or football. There's lesser chance of injuries, but it feels like the little nagging injuries, like if he gets hit in the hand or something like that at the World Baseball Classic, and then that carries over into the season, those are the little things that nag at a player the entire season, and it is a long season. So hopefully we get through the World Baseball Classic without, and like I think Rosario's also playing, I think for, I can't remember where he's from, maybe Dominican.
But what makes me happy about this, though, is that the fact that he is playing and he feels good, because last year, when he came back from his injury, he was too scared to do a lot of things like that he used to be able to do, which is why he didn't end up playing, and he would play and he wouldn't play, and then he'd feel like he tweaked something. Like, I'm glad he's getting the confidence back, and I think this is giving him a good way to do it without actually, it won't detriment the Braves at all as long as he stays injury free.
I don't hate him getting extra at bats. It's mostly I worry about what kind of quality fields are we playing on, and Miami is a prime example of where he got hurt, and like it's known as an outfield that's horrible.
Hey, speaking of quality fields, that actually remind me about that when we talk about the Super Bowl, because I actually have some. There's conspiracy going on.
Well, speaking of, Aaron, we want to move on to your Blurse of the Week.
I'll be honest with you, I was a little disappointed there, Blake. I thought you had this perfect segue into my third one there, and I was like, hell yeah, Blake.
Well, I knew you were going to talk about the Super Bowl, but my thing's different than that, so I'll just segue after the segue.
Okay, all right, cool.
After you say something dumb right here.
Yes. All right, so my Blurst is inspired by last night's Super Bowl, specifically the fact that one of the team's coaches, the Eagles, their head coach, Nick Sirianni, in his second year, I can't help but marry him to Arthur Smith in my mind. And they were hired at the same time. Obviously, they came through the same, both first-time head coaches. They played each other in their first games of their careers. To me, a lot of things to draw there between the
Parallels.
two. Yeah, thank you. That's the word.
I wasn't going to help him.
You know what's crazy is the word parallel has a parallel in it.
Yes.
Isn't that interesting?
You gotta love it.
But anyway, but yeah, so to me, it's blurred watching it was blurred thinking of that while watching it, because I think it's cursed from the fact that we made the wrong hire, in my opinion. And I think blessed, though, given that it's showing a more stark contrast between the two that might get him out of Atlanta faster and get us a better football team. To me, that's what
I thought you weren't so upset about Art after through the season this year.
No, he gets upset. He gets in his own head about these things. He sees Nick Sirianni do well, and he's like, and it makes him rages. He feels it, and he's like, Art Smith hasn't done shit in the 2 years, which I get that.
He is right, but I think it's also because we're all prisoners of the moment, and we're able to talk ourselves into things. And of course, when I'm watching a 17-game season, I don't want to be just pissed off the entire time.
Yeah.
And there are some good things he's done, but I think overall,
I have some rebuttals to this. First off, I want to point out Dan Quinn in his second year went to Super Bowl II, and look where that left him. I'm not saying Nick Sirianni will do that. I'm just saying, let's remember
it's a valid point,
prisoner of the moment. Let's remember what Dan Quinn did, and then we lost our good coordinator, and the rest is history.
Yeah.
My thing about Nick Sirianni is this: if you compare, I don't mind comparing coaches. I I don't like comparing him to Arthur Smith for the one purpose of Nick Sirianni almost inherited a Super Bowl caliber team, and Arthur Smith incorporated the team with the most dead cap in the history of the NFL. They're just very different.
I'll give you the cap thing.
Well, listen, you mentioned, hold up. You said to me, well, the offensive line, blah, 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 blah.
Yeah.
Aaron, they've had a top 5 offensive line every year since 2017, besides the year before Nick took over because of 3 injuries, because they lost 3 linemen to injury who didn't play the whole year. They've had a top 5, not top 10, top 5 graded offensive line. 3 of their offensive line that played in this year's Super Bowl played in the last Super Bowl. 3 offensive line, including Jason Kelsey, who's probably one of the best centers to ever play.
Yeah, Lane Johnson.
Lane Johnson, exactly. And the other one, his name is, I have it written down because I did research today because you made me angry. His name is Isaac Sulamola. He did not start in the last Super Bowl, but he was on the team, and then he started this whole year, and he's one of the reasons they're top. Yeah, so 3 offensive linemen. They also
so hold on. So I think that's proof that since Nick Sirianni has been there, that player has gotten better. Is that what you're saying? He went from not starting a Super Bowl to starting
6 years ago, man. It could have literally been Nick, or it could have been the last coach before Nick. I mean, maybe one player got better. That's sure, whatever, man.
Oh, not one player. That is a player that got better.
So something else you wanted to comment on was AJ Brown, like he wasn't there.
Yeah,
that's the name, right?
AJ Brown and Devontae Smith.
And Devontae Smith. So a couple things. One, you got mad at the Falcons for drafting a wide receiver. They drafted Devontae Smith in the first round.
But no, it's the exact thing we've been talking about the whole time, which was, why did I not want us to draft those receivers? Because our offensive line was shit. But then you just pointed out their offensive line was not shit.
But Nick Sirianni didn't make their offensive line, is my point. And also, something else I noticed too was their offensive line coach, who's going to be a Hall of Fame offensive line coach, he was there under Andy Reid and Doug Peterson, and he stayed under Nick Sirianni. Like, it's not even his hire.
Wow.
Like, I looked it up too, because that was just something I found because I was like looking at the coaching schemes.
So that was one of the 6 things I brought up.
Yeah,
all right,
AJ
so
Brown's
the offensive
the other one.
line, you've really honed in on it.
Because that one's important, and I agree with you, and that's why I also think the Falcons better.
They were, by the way, not a top 5 offensive line this year. They were a top 1 offensive line.
Yeah, they were. They're actually top 1 like 3 of the last 6 years I looked at. So they've been great for a good reason. So here's point 2. Howard Roseman. He's he goes by Howie Roseman. He's the general manager of the Eagles.
Right.
He's worked for the Eagles in the front office for 24 years. Mm-hmm. He's been their general manager since 2010. They've had the same general manager since 2010.
Yeah, so he's a good general manager.
Yes, and so you credit AJ Brown to Nick, but why is it not the general manager who did that?
Okay, all right. Do you not think, yes, the general manager, of course, is the guy who's getting the deals done, but do you think that he just thinks of that shit on his own, or do you think he talks to the head coach about what the head coach wants?
Yeah, but what money has the Falcons had to do anything in trading or free? We can't trade a big contract coming in because we've had no cap to pay, and we haven't been able to sign anyone because we've had no cap to pay. Like we've
been getting rid of pieces with the Falcons, right? I mean,
we have been getting rid of
since
pieces.
Art. I mean, Matt Ryan, obviously
they've had to clear cap since. Yes, my point is with the Nick Sirianni. I'm not trying to discredit him. I don't know if he's a good coach or not yet.
Oh, you don't?
I don't know. Because here's something else. The Eagles had the 21st hardest schedule this year. So that's the 9th or the 11th easiest schedule this year. Like, they didn't have a hard schedule. They beat every team they were supposed to beat this year. And then when they played the hardest team they played, they got outcoached. Like, on paper, the Eagles are a better team than the Chiefs. They were the favorite to win the Super Bowl. They were who we picked to win the Super Bowl.
Correct.
He got outcoached. And
he got outcoached by Andy Reid.
I know, but my point is, you're talking about
that was the difference
coaching.
In the game, though.
The coaching was the difference in the game. When you have the better team,
he wasn't going up against Arthur Smith. He wins that battle 10 times out of 10.
But my point is, we don't know that.
Last year.
What do we know that proves that Nick's a good coach?
No. Okay. First of all, we have that he took a 4-12 team and then led them to a 9-win season the next year and a playoff appearance.
I'm glad you said
that. Then he
that.
took that 9-win team and he took them to the Super Bowl in 14 wins.
Well, I'm glad you
said
after that. So the Eagles since 2017 have had one losing season, and that was the 4-11 season you're talking about. Every other season they've had a winning caliber team. The reason they lose that season is because Carson Wentz is in and out of injury. They lost 2 of their starting offensive linemen, and their best receiver was some guy named Travis Fulgham.
None of that has anything to do with the current team.
Yes, because most of the roster, they had 9 players from the last Super Bowl roster still on this Super Bowl roster. 9.
9 out of 53.
Yeah, but my point is,
starters.
How many players were on the current Falcon roster that were on our Super Bowl team?
Grady Jarrett. That's it. That is it. And that's the hardest part.
What about last year?
Matt Ryan, Grady Jarrett. There has to be one more at least, right?
Yeah, I think probably 3.
It may have been 3, but still, my point is, it's so hard to do what Sirianni did with like if Sirianni came to the Falcons, I don't see us being a Super Bowl team.
I didn't, and I don't. Yeah, and I didn't say.
But
that.
if you're comparing,
I do say
oranges,
I do think we. First of all, why can't fruit be compared?
Yeah.
Okay? all right. We can compare apples and oranges.
We can, and we're trying to.
I just think there's empirical evidence he's a better football coach, because look at this one player that you haven't brought up yet.
And that's
Jalen Hurts. Okay. Now Jalen Hurts, he has gotten him to a level that even Philadelphia fans thought he could never attain. People were against him
because Philly fans suck, dude. Here's my thing.
They do.
Jalen Hurts.
We can all agree on that.
Point blank on that one.
Jalen Hurts started 4 games his rookie year.
Yeah,
and they won 4 games that year. The very next year is Nick's first year, and they win 9 games. I don't think Nick's the reason Jalen Hurts gets good all of a sudden. Jalen Hurts has been good for years. He was good in Alabama. He was good at Oklahoma. I would have been happy to have Jalen Hurts on our team on the Falcons if we drafted him. My point is, I don't think Sirianni deserves the credit. My point is, Jalen Hurts puts in the time and the work to get good, and it was only his 2nd year last year, and this was his 3rd year this year. Like,
you have to look at the boss as a motivator for that. Who you want to go out and fight for this guy?
It's not
you
like
have a player who's playing as well as he did now under Nick Saban. Are we saying Nick Saban's not a good coach?
No, he is a good coach.
Okay. All right,
but
and then we also 1 second have to point out the fact that Alabama players are busts in the NFL all the time, and that's not something that's unique to Alabama. It's unique to the nature of the two sports being. It's the same sport, but it's not exactly the same sport, and a lot of times it doesn't translate. If I had told you when
college football to the NFL,
correct. Yes. If I had told you after Trent Richardson won the Heisman at Alabama that he was going to be as bad as he was and be the centerpiece of one of the worst trades in NFL history, everyone would have called me an idiot, because especially since he played that position, it's not very difficult to play mentally. So
and it has like the easiest transition, I feel like.
Exactly. The easiest transition. Just look at Najee Harris. So I think that discrediting Nick Sirianni's involvement in Jalen Hurts' progression throughout his career.
And that's what I'm trying to say. I'm not trying to discredit that, but my point is, I can't give him as much credit as and I'm going to bring Arthur Smith in this, for example.
Yes, dude.
Tannehill, when he went from Miami to Tennessee to play under Art, became a totally different quarterback.
Sure.
And my point for Jalen Hurts is, we don't know what he would have been without Nick, because Nick's been his only coach. Like that. So
look, hold on. Now, I'm not arguing that Arthur Smith's better than Adam Gase. Okay, I do think that Arthur Smith is better than Adam Gase. That one we can put to bed.
My point is, you're comparing a team that's been loaded, and like even the Giants defender came out this year and said you could put any coach on that Eagles team, they probably make it to the Super Bowl because of how loaded they are. And I'm not trying to discredit Sirianni like that. That was an NFL player who said that.
He was part of the loading though. This team, like I think the way, I'm not saying they were in a better position franchise-wise than the Falcons were, because they are. You're right.
They were. They are. Yes.
You're right. Yeah. Yes, they are a better run franchise than the Falcons.
Yeah, they're one of the best run franchises in the NFL, probably.
That just is the case. But when it comes to what we can glean from how the individual coaches have affected their teams since they've been there, I think that just looking at the fact that, yes, he went into a better organization, but they literally came into teams that had almost the exact same record. I do want to slightly correct myself earlier that when I said the Eagles were 4-12 before Sirianni got there, they were a 4-11-1. So they were a half game better than the Falcons.
But my thing is, like, it's a caveat to this. If the Falcons have had 5, no wait, hold up, we had 4 losing seasons in a row when Art Smith came in, whereas Nick Sirianni adopted a team that went 13-3, 9-7, 9-7, and then 1 losing season, and then they reloaded and bounced back. Like, it's just it's a much better, like you said, it's a much better run organization, because they didn't put themselves in a cap hell like Thomas Dimitrov did the Falcons, where we couldn't just bounce back between coaches.
I just think it's an unfair
comparison.
It
it's
is
a different kind of
of
rebuild. One's a 1 year
One's a
turnaround, and the
retool.
other is we know it's 3 years away from the time of hire, and that's what we're seeing. And it's good that Sirianni fell into that position. It's probably a reason why I don't know if he even interviewed.
He
with
turned
Falcons,
down the
but
Falcons job. Apparently,
I doubt he would have wanted to take it.
Yeah,
smartly.
Smart. I mean, that's the thing, and maybe
Yeah.
Art didn't have an offer anywhere else, and that's why he came to the Falcons. He's like, well, if I want to be a head coach, this is how I do it.
But I think let me just ask you this, because you made good points. I certainly agree with a lot of things you said, but would you not say that if the tables were turned, oh how the turntables, if you will, and if Nick Sirianni, or I guess what I'm trying to say is, if Arthur Smith had a 9-8 season his first year and took us to the Super Bowl this year, yes, it would have been more impressive at a base level because of the states of the franchise.
I mean, that would have been.
I'll give you that. But would you not be upset by the fact that if I said, like, well, I mean, come on, I mean, it was Terry Fontenot. You can't really say that Arthur Smith did any of that. Terry Fontenot acquired those players.
I mean,
He's the guy that...
I see what you're saying. You still got to coach the team, and I will still say this: like Sirianni lost the game, and I only caveat that because I feel like Hayden said, that was the one thing that happened. He got out coached in that game, and it was to one legendary coach.
It was to Andy Reid.
It's one of the best coaches.
But he barely got out coached. That should be noted. Like,
right.
Although
it took a last-second field goal to win.
But
I mean, Andy Reid on his own, like, he almost had like that big impact that Kirby Smart had during Ohio State, because both those plays in the red zone, like, I think the second one, I don't know, he was wide open to flat the running back or whoever.
Sky Moore.
But Sky Moore. But both of the touchdowns right there at the goal line were wide open, easy money touchdowns, and that is directly Andy Reid.
Yeah. But and also the preparedness that the offensive line had coming into the game, they didn't give up a single sack to the Eagles defense, who had the second most sacks in the history of the NFL.
Specifically,
the NFL.
Oh my God, who's the guy? I don't know why I'm blanking on it. Yes. He had 19.5 sacks by himself this year.
Jesus.
That was more than what the Falcons had last season.
Apparently, there were people that were projecting him to potentially win Super Bowl MVP because they thought that's the kind of game he would have.
Yeah.
I'll
say this too.
That offensive line didn't allow that.
So my point to what you're saying, Aaron, is I don't know if he's a better coach than Art Smith. I can't say he is or is not yet because of the difference in the caliber of teams they inherited. What I'll say about Art Smith, he's gotten the most out of nothing, and I'll say about Nick Sirianni, he's gotten the most out of a lot. So like, I don't know. Sirianni also did this, which I think was a huge. I'm gonna compliment him here. During his first year of coaching, they started off the year 2-5, with one of their wins being against a shitty Falcons team, as you pointed out. And then he gave up play calling. He gave it up. He said, I'm not going to call plays anymore. And they went on to make the playoffs after that. And then this year, and I think it shows within himself that he's not too prideful to hold on to something that, because a lot of coaches don't want to give up.
Especially as a mid-season change.
Yeah. And your first year coaching, he realized it wasn't working.
That lets you go 7-4 down the stretch.
Yes. So I want to give him credit there. Like, he gets props there. Like, that was the right move he made. And this year he did a great job with a team that, like, I still think I thought they were going to win. Like, I just thought they were a much better team, and I will give them credit. Like, it's hard to outcoach Andy Reid. It's not many people are going to do it. No. And I think the only reason the Chiefs did win was I think Andy Reid deserves a lot of credit. I really do. And I also think Jalen Hurts outplayed. I think he outplayed Pat Mahomes too.
To that point, one other thing Nick Sirianni can't help, and that's that Jalen Hurts threw the ball on the ground that led to 7 points for
the fumble
for the Chiefs. Yeah.
I
don't really even want to call it a fumble, even though that is what it was by the rules. But it was really just like that Cam Newton thing a few Super Bowls ago, where he was just like, "Here you go, defense, have a free 7 points." Yeah. You take that off the board.
Dude, yeah, I saw an article today about how the Eagles need to upgrade their wide receiver number 3 because he dropped that touchdown pass, like the long bomb he had over the quad. He dropped a pass, and it's like, if you're talking about upgrading your wide receiver number 3, like, there's more to, like, they have better chances. Your defense should have got at least 1 sack that whole game. Like, you had a better chance to win that game.
I mean, they have 4 viable weapons, probably more. I mean, they have Dallas Goedert, Devonta Smith, A.J. Brown, Miles Sanders is a great running back.
And the team that ran the ball more won the game. Who had the more rushing yards won the game. And that was the Chiefs. And that was something I will say that I do enjoy about the fact that the Falcons, I don't know if Arthur Smith will ever get the Falcons to a Super Bowl. I hope he does, because I want the Falcons to win a Super Bowl. I want that to happen. That's all I want to see. But my point is, I'm glad the Falcons can at least run the ball, like against any team. Like we proved all year that even the best defenses, we're going to run the ball against them, because if the Eagles could just run the ball last night, they win that game, but they couldn't do anything on the ground. And the Chiefs.
I think I did have one just to close this out here, I guess, or from my side of it is that I was thinking about this on the way home when I was thinking about what we were going to say today, and that was, I don't know. I'm not saying I'm certainly still a Falcons fan, but man, it just seems so different than the team that I grew up loving and that I loved over up until the past couple years. And it's some of its aesthetic. The uniforms are different. The uniforms are very different. And I also do not like them compared to the last uniforms. Yeah, I loved that red with the silver pants and the long red socks. Oh my God. Loved them. And also the last bit of success we felt from a Falcons team was also the most success they've ever had in franchise history. And the way that team played is the opposite of the way the current team plays. And it's not my favorite style of football. So this is just from a personal standpoint. Yeah, we can run the ball, and I hate running the ball.
But maybe we change though next year.
Exciting,
because we threw the ball a ton the year before that. You know what I mean?
Oh yeah, so, yeah. No, you're right. You're right.
I'm hoping that whatever happens, and we've talked about this enough, that we're hoping whoever quarterback comes in can help change that narrative. And I agree with you. It's been a hard fight since we've lost the Super Bowl. It has been really hard to be a Falcons fan. It has been very hard. Yes. Like so much so that and I was just telling y'all before the podcast, like I watch more NBA basketball than I do the NFL, because when I watch the Falcons play and then I try not to watch because it hurts me seeing other teams do well because of how bad we've been the last 5 years, especially how far we fell from grace too. Because I felt like we had a window to like compete multiple years. We went to the Super Bowl. We lost the wild card against the Eagles, who then won the Super Bowl, and then we did nothing until we're still doing nothing. So hopefully we change that. Yeah. But I have a conspiracy about
I love conspiracy.
So
hey, you need a sound for conspiracy. Just to
conspiracy.
Just to add to the things that you do.
The blursening. So I had a coworker come in today and he goes, "Hey, I got some material for the pod." And he's big into sports. He's a Parks Rec guy. He said, so the NFL has been preaching there's been a lot of hate against turf recently in the NFL. So he thinks the NFL purposely planted more ryegrass in the field, because they planted that field they use in Arizona and they took it out every day to give it sunlight. And so they're
one
apparently
of the coolest stadiums because of that feature.
Oh, it's awesome. Yes.
I love it.
I loved it too. And they're using Tomahawk 31s, like the special grass they use for the football. It's supposed to be the best.
We should have got Dylan on for this segment.
I know we should have. I thought about him afterwards. And then apparently though, they also use ryegrass in it because they want more green. They want to look that extra green. Mm-hmm. And he said there's a conspiracy going on that they use more ryegrass than they were supposed to try to give it that green, and also to hope players would slip more so they stop complaining about the turf. They want people to stop complaining about turf, so they purposely made the field not as good so people would shut up about grass being better than turf.
Oh man,
seems like big going on right now.
If that's the case, big turf, throwing their money around, trying to get their name out of the mud.
Isn't that funny? I don't know.
There's not much I love more than a good grass conspiracy theory.
Oh, and
right up there with contrails, baby.
I didn't even think about sports fans being into these conspiracy theories, but there's people out there who are they're into grass, and that's stuff they talk about because they care about.
Well, all week it was 31. People talking about how the game script for the Super Bowl has been leaked. It's been going around since they thought that the NFL scripted that the Chiefs were going to the Super Bowl no matter what, and that's why there were certain calls that go a certain way.
Speaking of, can you guys explain something to me, because I didn't really pay much attention to it. I saw we talked about it in our group meeting, and I saw it on Twitter, but there was some guy that has predicted the last 7 Super Bowls or some shit like that.
Turns out I kept reading because how does this guy know all this crap?
Hey, well, apparently how can you prove that? I can go tell you the last 7 Super Bowl winners and be like, yeah, I knew it.
Well, the tweet has a date on it, 2015, 2016, but apparently every year they're just editing it and making it where they're photoshopping to make it look like it's right. Yeah. So it wasn't right, and
that makes sense.
Yeah. It's hard to tell whether it's true or not, and I think it's false. It's false.
That makes sense.
But it is funny, the whole script stuff coming out, and people say picking players that bad things happen to them and going when they read the script, and it's oh no, I don't want to tear my ACL.
Right.
Like, yeah, it's like, guys,
Oh
it's
yeah,
not scripted.
the meme
like,
that's like Damar Hamlin reading that his heart is gonna stop on the field.
yeah, like right, like
yeah.
It's like,
stop.
ooh.
Like it's not scripted. It's not. This is not real. But yeah, that's all my Super Bowl stuff. So my point is, Aaron, I think you have the right to be upset as a Falcons fan, but I just think you're barking up the wrong tree to say that this Sirianni is because it's hard for me to know yet.
Mm-hmm.
Because who knows? He may be a Dan Quinn and may go on to get fired.
He might. And,
he
might. And I would say right now, Dan Quinn has done better as a head coach than Arthur Smith. So,
it's hard to argue that. Yeah. Something else too, I'll say though, is Thomas Dimitroff was the consistency between Mike Smith and Dan Quinn.
Sure.
And
there's
so
that too.
And so who knows? Like Art Smith could build a foundation with Terry Fontenot, get fired, the next guy come in and do great, win a couple of Super Bowls, and it's like I do feel like, because like here's my thing, I still think Mike Smith deserves some of the credit for the Super Bowl team because he helped get most of that team to where they were under Dan Quinn.
Oh, he absolutely does. He is what you just said Arthur Smith might be as far as
right. He could be.
He
the next
came in
one.
with Dimitroff. He built the foundation and then was a victim of his own success. The next guy came in and rode that wave.
Yep.
Happens to a lot of coaches. It's interesting. But, I mean, one thing I point out, like, Dan Quinn did come in to having a franchise quarterback already.
It was the same thing as the – and it's a little – sorry.
When Art Smith comes in, Matt Ryan's obviously at the end of his tenure as far as even being in the league anymore. We don't know.
Right.
So, we got 1 year of – shitty Matt Ryan.
And it's the same thing as Mike Smith, where Sirianni kind of like Mike Smith had a down year, Dan Quinn comes in, boom, back up again. Same thing. Like the Eagles have a down year, fired. Sirianni comes in, back up again. The only difference is Matt Ryan was established. Jalen Hurts is the young guy they we're hoping to become the next like Matt Ryan. And that's where Art Smith kind of had the bad end of the stick. There was you have a aging sunset quarterback without the roster to help him win. Mm-hmm. And so you have to wait anyways to figure out what you're going to do at quarterback.
No, that's true.
The whole different.
Also,
then you blow it up by trying to trade for Deshaun Watson.
Hey, speaking of that first year of Dan Quinn, it gets swept under the rug a lot because he led us to the Super Bowl the next year. But if you guys remember, we started the year coming off a 4-12 year. Yeah. 4-12 seems to be the magic get fired number.
Yeah,
it's almost always a 4-12, which makes sense. But
fair.
But we went 5-0 to start that season, and then we went 3-8.
Yeah, I remember that at week 5, everyone was saying like Dan Quinn's such a great, like he's the next best. Yeah,
he's the next best thing. The Falcons might be the number 1 seed in his first year.
You know what's really funny? The parallel of Dan Quinn. He started off 5-0, and he ended his tenure 0-5 and got fired after week 5 of his last season.
Yeah, that's a good point.
Yeah. I'm glad you said that because I just was looking at it. I was like, oh, yeah, he went 0-5 in that last year when he got fired.
Yeah, he did.
But yeah, back to the Chiefs-Eagles game real quick.
Yeah.
I thought it was a great game, like an all-time great game. I was disappointed in the end, not because of the penalty, just because I wanted to see the Eagles have a chance. Like, as a fan of the game, I just wanted to be able to see that happen.
Well, it was tough, like, with the penalty and, like, basically, we ran out the last 2 minutes of clock with just setting up a last-second field goal.
Yeah,
it was a boring way smart and well played by Andy Reid for sure.
Yeah. But very anticlimactic.
That's clock management, but not as fun to watch. But what did you guys think about that last throw by Jalen Hurts? I didn't go back and watch it, but it seems like it went about 35, 40 yards, like on a Hail Mary. It's like maybe we should have done some laterals there if we couldn't get it.
No,
I'll be honest.
Right.
I turned it off.
Go back and I didn't watch much of after that. Yeah.
So
there's a squib kick, and then with I think 6 seconds left, they had a Hail Mary attempt from about their own 35.
I'm not ashamed.
It didn't get to the first line of like prevent defense.
Right.
So they had 6 guys back or whatever for prevent. It didn't get through the first tier. It was like a line drive throw too. It didn't have the right art, but maybe it came out funny. But it's tough visual.
That is a tough vision.
I told myself last night, I was like, I'm tired. If I miss the greatest comeback in the history of Super Bowl, so be it. At least the Falcons stop getting talked about. Is what I thought when I turned it off. I was like, because I saw that again today too. For the Falcons, like they can't get them out of their mouth. Like, oh, the Eagles now go down with the well, I can't even think of the word they use for the Falcons, but I was just like, can we stop talking about that Super Bowl loss? Can y'all just
please
stop talking about it? Please.
Well, it's also hilarious because, like, in the coverage, they try to create all of this parody and, like, create drama. So halftime show is like, man, I can't believe the Chiefs are down by double digits. It's like, well, they're down 10 points. It's like that's the least amount of double digits you can possibly have.
Yeah. It was a game of two halves too. If you look at it, the better team I felt like came out and punched them in the mouth early, and then the team that made the better adjustments came out and won the game. Like, what was most impressive to me though was after the Chiefs went up 8, was that next drive by Jalen Hurts and the Eagles going up and then scoring the 2. It was a huge drive. Yeah. They went for it on 4th. Jalen Hurts was a beast the whole drive.
Oh, like that is one thing that I do want to bring up to Nick Sirianni's credit as well. And I don't mean this within our argument about who's better. This is just separate of that. But the balls to go for it as much as they have this year on 4th down, and the clip at which they convert those 4th downs.
Yeah.
It was something absurd.
Have you seen what they're it is. They set a record, and you know what it is? That formation they're doing that looks like they're about to go into victory formation, and then they use their wide receiver and the running backs to push the quarterback forward. Yes. It's like a cheat code. Behind Jason Kelsey, they got in it like 80-something% of the time.
They have like 4 or 5 different quarterback sneak formations that they ran last night. Which is pretty awesome that they put that much emphasis on it, but then they're able to script, like they know when you're in this range on the field, we're gonna be going for it on 4th down,
and it'll work every time.
Which that changes your game plan on 3rd down as well.
Yeah.
So
and it's all. I mean, it's stealing a possession is what it is.
Yeah. Randy and Andy were talking about today. Randy McMichael, former Georgia tight end, he was saying that damn good dog. He was saying that other teams are going to steal this because it works so well. Like other teams are going to start doing what the Eagles did on 4th down. And he said, and then it's going to probably lead to a rule change. He goes, because stuff like that, he goes, it seems so automatic.
I hope not, because of the fact that they had to change the rule for that to be legal anyway.
Yes.
It used to not be legal for people to push the pile, but now it is. And I love it, by the way. I love that you can push the pile. Maybe it's the offensive lineman in me, but God, there's nothing cooler. And Georgia, it's really more for the college football side of it.
Yeah.
Everybody's big in the NFL, but Georgia just has a knack for having just nasty, big offensive lines. And it's so fun seeing a Georgia running back get hit and then some offensive linemen come in and push him an extra 5 yards for the first
it's awesome. It is electric. And I hope, honestly, I like to see the I don't know, like you said, I credit to Sirianni and the coaching staff on coming up with that, because it's been automatic all year.
Who is his offensive coordinator?
No, that's a good question. I need to pull it back up.
I know that Jonathan Gannon guy's the defense coordinator.
And he's leaving now, right?
Yeah, he's going to go, where was it? I saw it just before the game.
Shane Steichen.
I don't know.
Shane Steichen. He came, Colts probably want him. Man, they might get him, actually.
That's right. Okay, that's actually the thing I saw, because that made me think when I saw about them inquiring about the offensive coordinator for the Eagles. I'm like, is that just are they married? Are those two franchises married? It's like,
because Sirianni came from
every time. Well, no, not only that, but I'm talking about Frank Reich back with the previous Super Bowl with Doug Peterson. Frank Reich was his offensive coordinator. So it's like every time the Eagles go to a Super Bowl, the Colts get their offensive coordinator as head coach.
What's funny though is
it's just a weird little.
And Sirianni came from the Colts back to the Eagles. Yeah. That's so like, and then now this guy might go from exactly. Yeah. I will say this too about Sirianni. He made great coaching hires. Like they were both young guys who a lot of people didn't know much about. And now both of them might be leaving for better jobs. So
speaking of, not exactly that, but back to Nick Sirianni. Everyone has seen the memes and stuff about him crying during the national anthem.
Yeah.
Which, by the way, if you didn't cry during that, for Chris Stapleton, I mean, the dude just nailed it. That was fucking sick. But the person who I think has to be happiest about that is Noshawn Marino, because he was the crying before the Super Bowl meme for the past
forever.
15 years probably. Well, it's not been that long, but it's been a decade maybe. But so he's got to be the one that's really happy.
His meme is going to get retired.
Because of this new one. It has a new version. But yeah.
So the Super Bowl talk will take the place of the Falcons talk this week, because we really don't have any.
Before we move off it, what did you guys think about the halftime show? Because I was disappointed. Personally.
Really?
Yeah, I mean, I like Rihanna as far as like that's just, Chris Stapleton is more my, folk country. That's my number one, and then I like.
I liked Rihanna.
But I love Rihanna.
Yeah.
As far as the show though, I don't know.
She definitely has. She has bops. Like she showed off her catalog of music that she's collected over 20 years or whatever. But it was very like stationary, and it's I guess because she's pregnant. But like the stages were super cool. But she was so like she basically stayed like almost in one spot the whole time and like wasn't doing active dancing because she's like very pregnant. So like she has great songs, but like I expect a little bit more. I don't know, performance dance or whatever you want to do. Right. I think of like. I mean, especially after the ensemble that they put together last season with like Dr. Dre and 50 Cent, Eminem, and Snoop Dogg. Like that's
yeah.
But like, if you're pregnant and can't move around as much, maybe bring in somebody else that can like add to your. Because I just kept waiting. I was like, oh, who's she gonna bring on? Who's she gonna bring on? Obviously, can't be Kanye, they have a lot of features together.
Yeah.
Not at this
can't
point.
They do.
They could have let Chris Stapleton sing her songs. I would have loved that. No, I mean, I think. Oh yeah, Blake, what were you gonna say?
I really like Rihanna. I like all of her bops. Been listening to them since I was a kid, so I really enjoyed it. I enjoyed that a lot of it.
If y'all don't mind, let me tell a quick little story here. One of the songs that I did enjoy hearing the most was "Shine Bright Like a Diamond," and that's because not only is it a great song, but our pal Rick, he and I have a special connection over this song. And I'll condense this story way down. I'll make it quick, but I do think it's funny. It's one of my most cherished memories of my life, let alone video game. But it happened in NCAA 14. He and I did this thing where we would create two OP players, and one of them would be Aaron Kaiser, one of them would be Rick Riffett, and we'd play both sides of the ball. We'd make sure our stamina was a 99.
Right, so you could do both.
Starters. Yeah. So I was always a quarterback and a safety. Rick was always the running back and a middle linebacker. Okay. And so there was one game we were playing with Rutgers. I don't know if I said that yet, because Rutgers had some sick unis back then. They had like chrome helmets and all red. Anyway, we were down by like 4 or 5, more than a field goal, and no timeouts. And I remember Rick and I get the ball back, and we've been playing music this whole time out off one of my like something that plays music, and just randomly "Shine Bright Like a Diamond" came on, and he and I marched down the field in a hurry up offense in like 40 seconds. And we snapped the ball. Again, no timeouts. I'll always remember. We snapped the ball at the opposing team's 5-yard line as time expired. And so we just had this last play that we're in. I hit Rick over the middle for a touchdown, a walk-off, game
Shine
over.
Bright Like a Diamond?
Yes. Scarlet Knights win. Right as "Shine Bright Like a Diamond" was at its crescendo. And Rick and I will always be bonded from that. He even texted me last night and was like, "Shine Bright Like a Diamond hit different."
Hit different. There we go. That's awesome.
But yeah, it was good.
I do love too about the performance last night that it became like the best meme from the whole night was the like the Smash Brothers meme where it showed her on the top platform and it showed like other Smash characters on the other platforms. Like that was one of my favorite ones.
That was cool.
Pretty good. But yeah, overall Super Bowl success. Did y'all go do anything? I stayed at home. I literally watched the ending in my bed on my phone.
Yeah, I had to work early this morning, and then I also tend to avoid Super Bowl parties, similar to also avoiding a lot of people for Georgia games, because I want to actually watch the game.
I get that.
And Super Bowl parties are for Well, yes, Super Bowl parties in particular are for people who don't watch football all year and that talk during the game and are quiet during the commercials. I don't want that.
That's very true.
Personally. What did you guys do though?
Yeah, I was at home.
Yeah.
Yeah, perfect. It's same reason. But yeah, what's great though on Mountain Time, the game started at 4:30, which was fucking fantastic. It was wrapped up by like 8:15 or something like that. So I got to just hang out, like have like a chill. You get to wind down from it.
Dude, that's the most annoying part about the Super Bowl too. Is like you said, it's like 4 hours long. It starts at 6:30 and it wasn't over till like almost 11. I was like, what's the point of it starting at 6:30 if it's going to end the same time as a normal football game? I feel like
another thing that Europeans do better than us. When they say this is when kickoff is, that's when kickoff is. The Everton game was at 3 p.m. today. Do you know when the whistle blew? 3 p.m. on the fucking dot.
It was over by 5.
It was over by 5 on the dot too. Yeah. Thank you. Yes.
Yeah.
It's such a more efficient watch.
It just is. It is. I agree with that.
Anyway.
Shall we go into the Hawks?
Yeah, let's
Yeah,
switch
talk
over to
Hawks
something
trade.
different.
Hawks.
Hawks. All right. So before we get in the Hawks, I'll go over the trade deadline real quick. I just want to talk about the real winners and the losers of the trade deadline. The winners to me were the Phoenix Suns and the Los Angeles Lakers. Phoenix Suns, obviously, because they got Kevin Durant. They did trade a Burt load over to get him. But anytime I don't know, the Phoenix Suns are a piece away from winning. Kevin Durant could be that piece. Also gives them a chance if Chris Paul decides to retire going out of this year, that money could go to Kevin Durant.
Well, one thing I wanted to ask your opinion on here, Blake. And correct me if I'm wrong.
Yeah.
But I'll never ever dispute that Kevin Durant is one of the best basketball players in the world. There may have been a year or two, a couple years ago, where he was the best basketball player in the world, and if not, definitely he was the best offensive basketball player in the world. I think Giannis certainly has that crown now.
Yeah, him and Jokic, I'd put ahead of him right now for sure.
Yes. But he's always been such a sought after commodity for that, and he should be, especially in a league where something like that makes such a big difference. It literally can win you a championship. But correct me if I'm wrong, but trading for Kevin Durant has never won anybody a championship.
Correct. only happened twice.
Is it not?
When he went to Golden State, they won.
The third.
When he went to
that wasn't a trade. That was a signing.
Right, exactly. But he got traded from Golden State to Brooklyn, and then from Brooklyn to here. So this only happened. I
thought he had one stop.
You're
right. You're right.
This would only be his second. I will say this:
wait. He went from
OKC.
So there was nowhere in between OKC and
no. But I will say this:
you're right.
He has lost a couple of he's had a couple playoff runs that ended way earlier than they should have. That's something we should talk about too. And I hate saying this, but Kevin Durant's lifetime, his legacy, I feel like is a little tarnished. Not because he's been traded around a lot, but because of when you go to these places like OKC, you could argue he probably should have had one championship at OKC, just for the teams they had. Then when they went to Golden State, they did win a couple, which was good. But then you go to Brooklyn and you build a new super team with James Harden and Kyrie. It's a huge blemish. I mean, that's probably one of the best trios to never do anything.
Oh yeah, I mean, think about it. And Oklahoma City also got him the right way.
Yeah, they drafted him. Yeah,
and so here's what was messing me up. He played for the Seattle Supersonics.
Yes,
when they were last a team.
But they were still OKC.
Same franchise. That's what got me. But anyway, but yeah. So exactly to your point. He should have won more titles. He just has the one, right?
They went 1 or 2 with Golden State.
They won back to back.
They won back to back with Durant. That's right. He did get 2.
So 2 ships. Yep.
Yeah.
But to me, they definitely should have won one in Oklahoma. They should have beat the Heat. I think. Well,
they had the better team than the Heat.
Yeah, and that's what I'm saying. They had the better team. The Heat happened to have LeBron
James.
Prime.
Yeah. Well, actually, I will also argue this. Maybe they didn't have the better team. That's probably pretty equal, probably.
Yeah.
But the other
James
thing was
Harden came off the bench. The Heat did not have anyone like James Harden coming off the bench.
Right, but they also had Chris Bosh and Dwayne Wade.
They did. But they had. To me, it was Russell Westbrook in his prime.
But they should have beat Golden State though. That year they went to 7 games against Golden State. The year before he left Oklahoma to Golden State, they should have beat Golden State in that Western Conference Finals, and then they should have won the championship that year.
Right.
So no, and I just think Kevin Durant, if you try to give him championships, are those Steph Curry's championships or are they Kevin Durant's championships?
Oh, they're not Kevin Durant's
they're not. And don't get me wrong, that Kevin Durant did help them win too, and they're probably not going to beat LeBron all those times without Kevin Durant.
Sure,
but it's not just Kevin Durant's championship. It wouldn't be like if he won in OKC.
You know what I mean? MVP both times though, didn't he?
I don't know about both.
I think he won Finals MVP both times because that's why it was a big deal that Steph won the Finals MVP.
Oh, you're right. Yeah, Steph.
Year.
Yeah.
Did he win both or did? Hold up. Kevin Durant won 17 and 18.
The first time the Warriors won the finals, it was
Iguodala
Andre Iguodala.
Yeah, you're right.
That's right.
Which is
you are right.
I bet that's going to be a great trivia question about
that
your
is
Ivy years.
You're
exactly right. Kevin Durant did win both those in those games.
Look at me with that basketball knowledge. How about that, everybody?
I'm very
proud. I'm so proud.
So I guess just to that instance, though, when you brought up it tarnishing his legacy, or that his legacy is
tarnished a little bit.
I totally agree, and that's because and people hated on Golden State for it. They signed him as a free agent. Golden State literally did the exact model of what you're supposed to do. You draft a great core of young players. You have them in their rookie contracts. While in that window, you sign a big name free agent and you go on this historic run.
And then before something costs you too much, you trade him away.
Exactly. Exactly. They literally did it perfectly.
They wanted him to come back though, and Kevin Durant didn't want to. That was Draymond Green in his podcast said
too many memes,
too many rings. Can't win that many rings. But Draymond Green said, we wanted him back. We were going to take less money to have him back. But
I mean that's just I don't know. You blame Kevin Durant there. It's a huge bitch move from Kevin Durant.
Yeah, no,
not the Warriors. That's exactly what the Warriors should have done.
Exactly. And I'm not going to say, and Kevin Durant could go win a championship with the Suns. That'd be pretty cool. I'm not going to blame him for this trade because he was the one that was probably the most okay with staying in Brooklyn. But the other two guys they got, Kyrie and James Harden, were trying to leave from the day they got there. Felt like.
Yeah.
Whoa. Hey,
we're getting hear ourselves. Yeah.
Whatever you just did. Wait, you fixed it.
What did I do?
Yeah. We were echoing.
We were echoing from your mic for just a second.
I'm worried that my mic isn't the right mic. I'm looking at a check mark in the wrong area.
No, but we hear you.
We hear you perfectly.
We hear you.
Does it sound? Does it sound good?
It sounds good. It does. I promise you.
Because last time you guys said it sounded good before the episode last week.
It did in comparison to what it sounded like prior to what you did. But today sounds better than.
I gotta come clean with everybody. There's not really an intern that I blamed on. That was just my fault. So
my fault.
So back to NBA real quick. Los Angeles Lakers are the other winners because they made a lot of moves trying to make themselves a championship team. They realized, hey, we have the best player. Well, one of the best player to ever probably play. I know some people say Michael Jordan. One of the best players to ever play in the history of the NBA on our team. We should probably try to win a championship while he's still here. So they went out and made a couple moves. They went out and got where is this at? Russell they traded Russell for Russell and a good trade. They brought the young Prince back to LA.
The young Prince back.
Dude, I just love all of his pictures when he was back when he got drafted by them.
That is
and they also brought in Mo Bamba, which that's
you never said his name. Is it D'Angelo Russell?
D'Angelo Russell. I said Russell, which I thght would be enough, but you're right.
I said Russell for Russell.
You're right. They traded Russell Westbrook for D'Angelo Russell. And they also had to move some picks. So they actually had to move a lot of money around, a lot of picks around to get players on them, but they made themselves a much more competitive team. And then the Hawks, we made a couple trades. And I want to preface this because I think we see differently here, guys. I personally, going in the trade deadline, did not want the Hawks to make any major deals because as of right now, there's just a big question mark on the Hawks' future. It's been reported by a lot of people, including Brad Rowland. It hasn't been officially, but there's a lot of speculation that Nate McMillan will be out. He will not be the head coach after this year, no matter what happens. Unless we went on to go win the finals, which none of us see that happening, he's going to be out. Even if we go and win a playoff series.
Why not just do it now then?
Because they don't want to happen what happened last time where an interim comes in, he does really good, and they feel like they need to offer him money again.
You don't have to do that. And we can roll back the tape. Sadly, not the tape from this podcast. But Blake, you'll recall it because I said it to you.
Yeah.
It's that I thought Nate should have been fired. I was convinced Nate was getting fired after the Miami loss or after the playoff loss last year to Miami.
Yes.
Why he wasn't fired then, I don't know. It was literally shocking to me as days went on and I didn't see in the news that he got fired. I'm like, what? And then, but it made me feel like I was in the wrong because no one else was saying it. Everybody was just acting like, yeah, he should still be here. You don't have to keep him for as long.
I'm with you. And I think the biggest issue is, and we'll never know the real answer, is the question mark at who was in charge. Was it Schlenk? Was it Ressler? Like who's the one that said we need to give Nate McMillan the contract after the first little playoff run? Who was that? I mean, I don't disagree with that. I think they did it. Like me and you talked about it. And let me say this too. I like Nate McMillan as a guy. Same. Is he the greatest coach? I don't know. Obviously not.
He's too stuck in his old ways.
He is. He can't change. He needs to change the offense some. It's obviously there's problems. But I was pro hiring him after the run. The issue is, like you said, after last year, we saw enough. Like the fact that we weren't just winning, like what I'm trying to say, the fact last year we weren't just top 4 seed, top 5 seed showed that Nate can't get us where we need to be.
Right.
And if it's and maybe they thought it was the roster fault, which is why they went and got DJM. But also, to your point, we should have upgraded coaches then, and maybe the right coach wasn't out on the market then.
True, but I also think that that the only reason Nate had that success, and I think we can crystal ball, or hindsight being 2020, we can wrong direction of looking, but we can see that the reason Nate had that turnaround is because Lloyd Pierce was a players coach that lost the players. Absolutely. When players coach, the players coach, it's a risky way to be. And well, I mean, honestly, it's a risky way to manage any group of people. To me, it's the preferred way to manage, but it's more difficult because since you're almost like friends with the players, if you dip under that and you lose respect, it's hard to get it back.
You're never getting it back.
And you're never going to get it back. And so Nate, being this old head disciplinarian, coming in mid-season after Lloyd Pierce, the players coach, was out, that's what they needed.
Yeah.
That is what that team needed.
Agreed.
But it's not what last year's team needed, and it's not what we need now.
I 100% agree. And to that point is why I didn't want the big trade to happen. Like, because I read too much. I read too much about sports, and all the major beat writers and stuff are saying, like, if we were to move John Collins, we weren't going to get what we deserve to get for John Collins, for the caliber player he is. And so do we sell him at a loss? What's the point of selling him at a loss this year if we already aren't going to compete this year anyways? You know what I mean? Like, if we think we can get more for him in the offseason or next year, you might as well just hold on to him. Or if you think the next coach might be like, you know what, John Collins could be a great piece to this team and could win us a championship, let's keep him. I don't know. My point in the deadline was we made moves to make ourselves better without jeopardizing or mortgaging any of our future. Yes, we traded away 7. We actually traded away a total of 7 second-round picks. 7, 5 for Bay, 2 for the other move. And then here's the 2 moves if you don't know, guys, if you're listening to us for all your information. We traded with the Houston Rockets for Garrison Matthews and Bruno Fernando for Frank the Tank and Justin Holiday, and a 2024 second-round pick and a 2025 second-round pick. This move was clearly just a cost savings move to acquire Bay. Like, that's the only reason we made this move.
I do like Fernando, too.
Yes. I think
Fernando's better than Kaminsky. He's certainly way younger.
He's more athletic. He's a better defender. Yes.
It does, though, to your point, what you said about him being close to our hearts. That was part, and I didn't bring it up when we talked about it on when the trade happened.
Yeah.
Because I was more just butthurt with the price of the things versus what we got back. But part of it was also the fact that we had Bruno Fernando. To me, it just feels bad when you sell something and then you buy it back.
Oh, the worst. And the worst part about that trade, and too, like, if you're a Hawks fan, and I'll be honest with you, we didn't say this back when we traded Kevin Huerter, and we should have, because I've learned more than I did then when it comes to basketball. We traded Kevin Huerter for the sole purpose to stay under the luxury tax.
Which is bullshit.
It is.
He said he was fine with going over the luxury tax.
That's my biggest issue. Tony Resler said we're gonna pay to win if we think we can win. If you had Kevin Huerter on this team right now, I think we might be a top 4 seed. I'm not even shitting you right now because Kevin Huerter is so good as a 3-point shooter.
Look where the Kings are.
Yeah, they are in the top 3 seed right now.
They are the 3 seed in the West.
Are you serious?
They won't stay there, but they are right now. Yes.
Halfway through the year, they are the 3rd seed in the West.
And
not all they did. But one of the biggest things they did was get Kevin Huerter.
Yeah, they got Sabonis last year, which helped too.
Yeah,
like
Sabonis
they have a lot of
good year.
I think a great year, and Fox is having a great year too.
Oh, yeah.
But Huerter helps that. Like, he's a great shooter.
Yes. He's doing the same thing with them that he was doing here.
Yes, and what was our biggest miss for the first half of the season without Bogey? A shooter. We had no shooters, and Nate wasn't playing the young guy. He wasn't playing Griffin.
Yep.
And so when we traded away Huerter, it was to stay under the luxury tax, and that's what put us in this hogwash middle ground this whole season anyways, because the depth that we had last year wasn't here. We didn't have it anymore. I bought into the Kool-Aid that, you know what, maybe Justin Holiday and Aaron Holiday will come in and play good defense, and that's all we need. No, they're atrocious. They played awful. We literally had to trade away picks to get rid of Justin Holiday. Like, that's what we had to do to get rid of him. And then we brought in Bay. We traded 5 second-round picks for him. Here's why this doesn't bother me. What did we do last draft? we sold our second round pick to the Golden State Warriors. We didn't trade it away for a player. We sold it for cash considerations.
That's
you know
true.
what that does for your team? Nothing.
Nothing.
It just puts money back in the owner's wallets.
Yeah, it adds to the bottom line.
That's all it does. That's
Did you guys talk about how like the trade almost fell through yet?
No. I'm not, because it didn't fall through. It's okay now. So what happened was Gary Payton.
I was so confused what was going on.
So Gary Payton the second failed his physical, but the Warriors decided to keep him anyways.
Hey, I got a question. Is there a difference between Gary Payton the second, and I'm using his name as an example, not him in general, and Junior? Because I always thought Junior was just the second. I didn't think that you started using numbers.
Probably because Gary Payton has a third. It's probably because Gary had a kid, and now there is a third, and maybe that's why. Wouldn't you still
just say Junior and third? No, but you're right. That makes sense.
But now implies there's another one afterwards. I think that's the only reason why they would do that, and I could be wrong. Gary Payton could just
I think that sounds right, though.
That does sound right, yeah.
But I think I'm correct.
Well, for Michael Harris the second, there's no there wasn't a junior. I don't think he just liked going by second, I think.
So maybe it's
on the opposite end. No, you're right. Yeah. That makes sense. I'm willing to just go ahead and say,
but maybe it's preference too, though. Maybe you're just I don't want to be called junior. Yeah.
Yeah. No, and there could be a manhood thing if that's how he views that. But or adulthood.
That's toxic masculinity.
Right there. Maybe say adulthood. Let me say that instead of manhood. But yes, I do want to bring up. Do you guys know the whole thing about George Foreman's sons? George Foreman has, man, I wish I could. The number 7 comes to mind as far as sons. God, I hope it's not that many.
Are they all named George Foreman?
Yeah, but guess what? They all have different middle names, so they're not like George Foreman 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. They're all George Foreman.
Wait, he actually named all of his kids George Foreman?
Yes. Hayden, are you looking it up?
Yeah, I just Googled it, and it's just like pictures of all these different guys that their names like different numbers of George Foreman that are all about the same age. Yeah,
I don't like that at all.
That's incredible.
It's wild.
I don't like that at all.
Oh shoot, they all got nicknames though.
No, what's that? What are their names?
Well, just reading a few off of like the pre-Wikipedia. George Foreman III, his nickname is Monk. George IV, Big Wheel. George V is Red. George VI is Little Joey. What the fuck is this?
It doesn't work that way either, though. Like they don't just become the 5th to 6th because you just had kids and kept naming.
That's hilarious.
Wow.
Oh, that is fantastic.
Yeah, so
that's great.
Gary Payton II almost caused the trade not to work, but it went through. A little bit about Saddiq Bey, for those who don't know him. He put up 51 in the game last year. It's pretty impressive.
That is impressive.
His career high this year.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, he put up 50. That's his career high is 51. He put up 31 this year in a game, so that's been his best game this year. He's a positive shooter. When I say that, like he shoots at a high
with a good attitude.
We got an argument about this, Aaron, but he shoots at a higher than average shooting 3-point percentage from his position, which is small forward, power forward. And the only reason I preface that is because on average, point guards and shooting guards have a higher shooting percentage.
Wouldn't you say that power forwards are bringing that number down a little bit?
Oh, they would be, which is why Saddiq Bey at the 4 is good to have a positive shooter.
Sure,
at the 4, because
I guess here's some common ground we can find.
Yeah.
He's not that good of a shooter as a NBA basketball player, but when he's playing the 4, he can play the stretch 4 because
but he's still not a below average shooter either, though. He's basically an average to a positive plus, or what's the not below average, above average shooter. He's an average to above average shooter is what I would say. I wouldn't even call him a negative shooter. I wouldn't. He also
34%. Is that right?
I don't have the number right in front of me. I could pull it up, but
that sounds right.
It is funny how baseball and basketball are just off by 10 points when it comes to what's good on percentages.
What's good and what's
30% is good in baseball, 40% is good in basketball.
It's super close. Something else about Bey, which I thought this was really cool. He scored 10 plus points in 40 of his 52 games this year, which is something we've lacked off the bench, is being able to shoot. So my thought process on this was I like this move because it gave the bench another scorer that we don't have. And something I pulled up was, if you look at our team as a whole, Bogdanovich has only played 32 games this year. Capella's only played 41. Hunter's played 47. This is the possible 55. Okongwu's played 55. Or how many games have we played? I don't even know. Okongwu's played the most, though, on our team at 55. So So this whole year we haven't had our whole starting lineup play a total of like I think 10 games, something like that, if they've played together. And then when you add BOTW to the mix, it's even shorter, smaller than that. If you look at our team on the plus minus scale, Young is our leading player at 100 plus 104. Behind him is why is this not zooming in for me? Behind him is Collins at plus 63, Hunter at plus 62, Capella at plus 35, and then DJM, who a lot of people are like, oh, are we better with DJM than Trae Young? He's only plus 4. And the reason is not because he's bad. It's because our bench is just really not great. They haven't been great all year because he's been playing with the likes of Holiday and Frank the Tank. And you know what I mean? It hasn't been a healthy team.
Let me challenge one thing you said there, though, as far as, and I'm not saying you're using it as a crutch. Yeah. But we have talked about the fact, and you brought it up there, that the starting lineup hasn't been together, but for like 10 or 12 games or something like that.
Yeah, that's just my win-loss as a team.
But isn't Clint Capella really the reason for that? Like if you take Clint Capella out, the lineup has been together a lot more.
Yes, no, Clint, yeah, exactly. No, you're right. Capella and then Bogdanovic, who's not starting, but he's your sixth man. So that's like the big thing. No, I agree with that.
The 4 of them have been together a good portion of the season.
And then the other thing, though, with trading Kevin Huerter is our depth has just lacked this year.
Yeah.
So and that's why losing someone like Capella has hurt us so bad. And honestly, too, this is a little off topic of the trade, but when Capella first came back from injury and they had Okongwu starting at the 5 and Capella coming off the bench, I thought it was so good for our team because JC and Okongwu complement each other very well. But JC and Capella do not complement each other very well at all. They do a lot of the same stuff. So when Okongwu and JC started together, I just felt like it was much more dynamic of a team. Capella comes in off the bench, which gives something that the bench was lacking. I don't know. That's something else that bothers me about Nate McMillan just not being flexible with these lineups. Right. So my expectations based on this trade we've made and just based on the team being healthy and if all things stay the same, I think we're going to fight for the 6th seed. I think I'm not guaranteeing we'll get the 6th seed. I just think we'll fight for the 6th seed, and I think we can win a playoff series.
If we do that,
yes.
We can't be in the playoff game again.
No,
because it's just
it's so bad for your team as a whole having to play those 2 extra games, and also like who you're going to play against in the first round, you're going to lose. Like if you have to play Boston or Milwaukee in the first round, I don't see us beating them. But if we're the 6th seed and we're playing, say, like the 76ers, maybe we have a better chance. I don't know who the third would be right now. But you know what I mean? Like I think we have a better chance.
And it's just I don't know. It's I know we brought this up a lot on the pod, but it's to the thing that we just talked about, just to reiterate the play-in game and why you don't want to be there. And it's so funny to me how in baseball, I feel like the teams that don't get the first round bye have the advantage.
Sometimes,
because in baseball, it not being as physically taxing. Yeah, and I feel like a lot of times it does because that to me is a sport where you got to be hot over being rested.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
But
and shorter series at the beginning of the playoffs too.
Yeah, it is shorter series helps too. So winning some series is so hard.
But when it comes to other sports like basketball specifically, I feel like being rested is the main thing. I mean, you just played 82 basketball games, and now they're like, oh, here's 3 more before you can be in the playoffs.
Well, that's the crazy thing about the Brooklyn Nets.
3 more in like 4 or 5 days, too.
Right. The Brooklyn Nets right now are currently the 5th seed. I think after trading Kevin Durant and Kyrie, they're going to drop. But
I would hope.
But to your point, though, I think they're a tough out now, though. The players they traded for in both trades made them where they just have a bunch of great depth.
I do love Spencer Dinwiddie.
Yes.
I'm a huge Spencer Dinwiddie
They got Spencer Dinwiddie. If you don't know who they got from...
right there.
Oh, it is.
If you don't know who they got from the Suns, they got both Cameron Johnson and they got... Where's the other guy's name? Cameron Johnson, and they got...
Real quick, while you're finding that, did you say Dimwitty?
Dinwiddie.
Witty. Yeah.
Okay, that's better than Dimwitty.
Yeah. But trust me, it's there. It's there the whole time. Yeah.
Oh, also, who did you say doesn't play well with John Collins?
Oh, Capella. They overlap each other too much.
Okay. Yeah, I haven't seen somebody that incompatible with JC since Judas.
That was pretty good. That was
been working on that one. And then earlier, Aaron said crystal ball, but it sounded like crystal ball. And I don't know if you guys watch Barry, but there's a line from NoHo Hank.
Oh, hey,
50-50 with crystal ball.
Okay, I am a huge Barry guy. I don't know if we talked about that yet, but
this is what I do when you guys talk basketball. I just like think of funny things and then I have to look up the jokes.
No, you're
sorry,
good.
not to make it an HBO pod here, but we could.
Oh, but we are.
Oh, we could.
But we are. But I haven't watched season 3, so I've seen 1 and 2.
Good.
But 3 is what just finished, right? Or not just, but
it's coming up on 4. Yeah, 3 is the most recent, but yeah, 4th is getting released.
Hell yeah! Season. I saw a TikTok clip the other day of my favorite episode from the whole show currently. I think it was season 2 where they meet that father and daughter combo that are like superhuman kind of. You know what I'm talking about?
Maybe
he gets in a fight with Barry at that convenience store and just beats the shit out of him.
I forgot.
And then he has
that
daughter. I saw a clip of it the other day, and it's.
I gotta watch this. Sounds like I need to watch the show.
It's very good. Very dark comedy.
Mikal Bridges is the other guy's name. So with Ben Simmons, Mikal Bridges, Cameron Johnson, and Spencer Dinwiddie and company, I think the Nets have a competitive team, but I don't think they'll finish in the top 4 anymore. But to your point, a well-rested team, no one's going to want to play them in the playoffs because they're going to might bring a team to Game 6, Game 7, and make them tired.
And this might just be me in the way I negatively view both Kevin Durant and Kyrie.
Yeah.
And James when James was there. And it's that those guys, that's the type of team, like you said, that I don't want to play. Whereas, the Kyrie, the James Harden, the Kevin Durant teams, they might have more star power and on any given night might blow you out by 50. They just don't mentally.
But they're not going to make you work every game.
It's not there. It's not there. Whereas that group of guys is dangerous.
Yes. No, I agree 100%. I want to. So Sam, shout out Sam. He said in our group me, he was very mad watching the Hawks. I'm going to read a little bit of what he said. He goes, I just look around the league and I see all the fireworks year in and year out and the Hawks sitting on their hands. The Lakers got a decent return on Russ and he's been riding their bench. He says that. He hasn't watched the Lakers game, I don't think, because Russ has been putting up pretty good numbers from the bench.
I was curious when he said that, but yeah.
Yeah, but he has been coming off the bench. He goes, I know you get defensive. He's talking to me. I know you get defensive about your Hawks and Falcons, but the reality is the Hawks don't make moves. And I don't think you have to in the current NBA set up. People are trading for superstars. Well, we have all these pieces, quote unquote, but we can't get someone. We'll never compete with the current roster, even though we should be a top 5 team in the East. Now, the trade for DJM was admirable, but they have still done nothing to get rid of the deadbeat superstar. He's talking about John Collins. So a couple of comments to what Sam said. I agree with him. It's frustrating. It's very frustrating, too, after that Eastern Conference Finals run we had where, Aaron, me and you were texting about this way before the podcast, talking about how excited we were about the Hawks and how this window's huge. And we talked about on the podcast about how here's our window. Let's go do things.
And then they made the trade, and we were like, "This is it.
This is it.
Trade.
Yes.
This is an in your window trade."
Yes, and I didn't realize how bad the Kevin Huerter trade would hurt us. And now I know to trust Brad Rowland more when he said this trade's going to really hurt us. Like Brad Rowland knows what he's talking about. Shout out Peace.
Shout out Brad, and also to eat a little more crow on my part specifically. The reason, and we may have talked about this, but the reason I was all in on the trade was getting DJM. I thought was awesome.
Oh yes,
but then we didn't know about the Nick Ressler stuff back then. No. So and I trust Travis Schlink as we all should.
Yeah.
And so I was like, well, I didn't really look at the details beyond the surface because I was like, well, if Travis Schlink signed off on it, it was a good deal then.
Yeah. No, I agree. And
that ended up not being the case.
But I will say this. I actually still like DJM on the Hawks.
I love DJM.
I still think the trade is great. And I agree with you what you're saying. We were trusting Schlink is what we said for years because he's done nothing but prove us right. And I hate that he's going to probably go somewhere else and win a championship and we're going to have to watch it and we won't win one between now and then. That's might be what makes me not be a Hawks fan anymore.
I think Hayden brought it up yet, though, because he literally had proven, because the whole thing was him being the assistant GM for the Warriors in their dynasty and then getting the job with us. The whole thing was, well, did he learn anything in his time in Golden State? And he immediately approved. Yes. He started instituting the exact same mold that they did there. Mm-hmm. And then
John Collins, Draymond,
they put him out.
Trae Young is Steph, and Kevin Huerter was Clay. It's a lot. It looks differently, but that's kind of your core, your base.
That was almost the exact same thing. Basically the owner was like, why don't we give this guy a role, a figurehead role, and I'm going to let my son play my GM mode with my team.
And we've talked about this too on the pod. literally when that happened is the same time the John Collins rumor started going out. Like, someone has to be leaking all this information, and I don't think it was Travis Schlenk. I really don't think he'd be leaking. There's no point. So I just think his son talks too much, and he's the reason that I actually think he's the reason that he wants John Collins out of here. I don't know why either. But to what Sam was saying is, I understand your frustrations, and I do get it sucks seeing like last trade deadline last year, we didn't make any moves at the trade deadline. At least this year we did something to better the team, to try to give more depth, to try to get us a little bit of a run. But I'm like I said, I'm glad we didn't blow anything up. I'm glad we have now going to the offseason. We'll have a new coach come in who can figure out what pieces he wants, what pieces he don't want, and then we can move on from whoever it is and get something better to offer. Because here's what I did not want to happen. If you traded John Collins at this deadline, we as a team were going to get worse no matter what you did. There was no trade we could have made to get better. And I know we don't want to go like, what's the point of making playoffs if you're just, the point of making playoffs is you have Trae Young on your team. And if you don't make the playoffs, he's going to want to leave. Like, that's the point. Same with DJM. They don't come here to lose. These guys aren't.
I know we haven't seen a JC trade like that since a certain JC in Nazareth.
Oh boy,
he was a carpenter.
But one last note on the Hawks. I am positive in the sense that I think Trae Young's still a superstar, and I think DJM's a great player, and I think that we have positives to look forward to in the future. We're not there yet, and we're going to have to sit still for one more year. And I hate saying that. But
Blake, I'm not laughing at what you're saying. I'm still dwelling on Hayden's JC jokes.
No, his jokes are too good.
Did y'all see the joke that's going around on Twitter that was like, it was supposed to be like, guy who only knows Jesus as a carpenter, and then the quote was like, honey, did you hear what they did to the guy that made our table?
You ever see Life of Brian, the Monty Python movie?
I've not. I've only seen Holy Grail.
So it's about a guy named Brian who's living the same time as Jesus, and he actually ends up getting like crucified instead of Jesus. Like, he ends up taking his place. Cool. It's pretty funny though. And at one point they're talking about like, he's at like a thing talking about Jesus talking in the background, and they're way too far away to hear what he's saying. And one guy goes, Jesus goes, blessed are the peacemakers. And the guy goes, cheesemakers? What the hell have they ever done for us? Like, you can't hear what they're saying. It's really funny. If you haven't watched Life of Brian, it's worth a watch.
Nice. I'll have to check that out.
It's really good. But that's all I have about the Hawks right now. Yeah. I'm not optimistic that we're going to do much beyond what I said there. We'll compete for a top 6 seed. I do think Trae Young was a snub, and we talked about that last week. And that's all I have to say about that. I hope Sadiq Bey works out for us.
Real quick before I know we're trying to wrap it up, I do just want to touch on UGA men's basketball getting.
How about them dogs?
You gotta wait for it.
God, that's the best one.
Huge win against Kentucky.
Yeah, we did.
Got the program back on track, like we talked about the other day.
Kentucky.
Not your father's Kentucky team, but still a great program. And they turned it around since I said that, by the way.
Yeah, they actually have been better.
Yeah. So huge win over them. Hopefully that steers us in the right direction to finish SEC play, because that puts us at 15-10.
Mm-hmm.
And while that's not NCAA tournament good, I can't remember the last time UGA men's basketball was 5 games over 500 at this point in the season. So
yeah,
Did you type Kentucky on purpose?
I said more than that. I said more than that. Yeah.
Did you saw the funny? Were you? Did you notice the record
I was
thing?
typing what I wanted to talk about while you were typing, so I just added in your notes as I went, and I didn't correct it because I thought it was so funny that because it was at the same time, because we were both there at the same time doing that stuff, so I just like threw it in there. Yeah. But so I stole what you said and just put it in a funnier term. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. That is funny.
I said what you said, but better.
No, not better. I just changed it.
No, that's fine. But no, I'm talking about then the graphic you sent us, that tweet that showed Georgia's record going as 15 and 111.
Oh yeah, yeah. I don't.
Which is wild because we're 15 and 10. I don't even think we're 15 and 11. So
they messed up that graphic big time.
Real bad, yeah.
Real bad. Cool part though about Georgia is that, do you think there's a chance we finish above 500 in conference play?
Yes,
because we're 5-7 right now.
I would shoot for 500.
That's what I was thinking.
Because I think that means that we only got 3 games left.
I mean, that means you get a win, but that means you beat Alabama, LSU, Missouri, Arkansas, South Carolina, Florida, or that's it. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 games left.
Oh, yep. Aaron's math was off there,
and we're 5-7, so we have to win 4 of the next 6.
So we're not going to beat Alabama. I'm just going to go
Right.
ahead and rip that Band-Aid off now. They went to number 1 in the polls.
Yeah, they're the best team.
Which is crazy.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think we can get 3 wins out of.
We gotta win 4.
Wait, 4?
We gotta win 4 of the last 6.
All right. I'd say we lose to Alabama and Missouri. We beat Florida, South Carolina, Arkansas, and LSU.
There's a chance. LSU is the worst team, and South Carolina is worse than us too.
Yeah, and we need revenge on Florida. Florida is worse than us.
Yeah,
in my book.
Let's do it.
They beat us.
Let's freaking do it.
Hell yeah, boys. Anyway, yeah. So that's really all we got there. And then Atlanta United, 3 or 4 days after we announced it on our podcast here that we had signed a striker for the Atlanta United.
I sent his pronunciation too.
ESPN announced it. So let's just say, you're going to be getting it a lot quicker than ESPN puts it out if you're listening to this bad boy.
Yeah, they just announced it. That's right.
Not just, but it was.
I sent it to you. Yeah, just recently. Yeah, I sent it to the. Yeah.
It was. It literally was like. It was like
hates
3 or
Atlanta
4
sports.
days. Yes. It really was like 3 or 4 days after we said it. So.
I'm just gonna say this now because we're still podcasting. The Hawks are currently down 11 against the Charlotte Hornets. Don't like that.
That's
Again?
super
Like
fun.
that, dude.
They lost to them earlier in the season too.
Yeah.
I think we've lost to them twice, and they're awful. That's the
Crazy.
hardest part about the Hawks is we beat teams we shouldn't beat, and then we lose to teams that it doesn't.
I saw a
shows
list
them
of like
shows
the
coaching.
next
That's a
7
coaching
games.
problem, though.
Yeah.
6 of those were like against teams that were lower than us in the standings
Yes.
right now.
To me,
Yeah,
I think it's a player maturity problem, and that player maturity problem can be
It's-
fixed
But
by coaching.
Yeah. I 100%. I mean, we won our last 2. We could win 3 in a row. Let's fingers crossed, boys. Fingers crossed.
Let's see. Braves only notes is the World Baseball Classic thing with Acuna, and he's already reported to camp. So usually it's just pitchers and catchers reporting that at this point. This week. But yeah, apparently Ozzie, Sean Murphy is there early. Ian Anderson got there before everybody else too, which is a good sign.
That's awesome.
And Ronnie. So hopefully we're just putting in some hours and guys are getting better and starting to mesh and being leaders.
Yeah, Chipper Jones also. I said
coming back as a coach.
Yeah.
Yep.
Back
Which
to
is
batting.
awesome. A lot of Braves have a lot of success from the way
Yes.
Chipper coaches them up and his approach to hitting in general. Austin Riley in particular has thrived since he's worked with Chipper Jones.
And it shouldn't surprise us because didn't he win the batting title at damn near 40 years old?
Almost, yeah.
It was like 36 or 37.
One of the best
won the batting title.
One of the best batters of all time.
Crazy.
Yeah,
One of the only players through that era to be at the top of the game without being on steroids. So
yes,
super impressive.
Absolutely.
That's notable as well.
Before we end, I kind of do a rundown on some news that I felt like we should talk about before we finish. One, we've been talking about this forever about why you shouldn't overpay running backs. Did y'all see that graphic I sent y'all? Marcus Mosher tweeted out.
Oh yeah,
Take a look at the leading
rushers.
Yeah, from the last 14 Super Bowls and their base
awesome.
salary. There's only been 3 running backs since 2009. Only 3 running backs have had a salary more than $2 million.
That's crazy.
And more than
it
1
makes
million.
sense.
And 3, Ray Rice, 2 million. Percy Harvin wasn't even a running back. He was a wide receiver. So 2.5 million, and Leonard Fournette, 2 million. Everyone else is 1.5 million or less. And most of them are below $1 million. So we've been talking about this all the time on the pod. You don't need to go get Bijan and at pick 8. You got Tyler Algier in round 5. Get someone else this year in round 4 through 7 to complement Tyler Algier. Boom, you're done.
Algier's probably getting paid $500,000 a year for the next 2 or 3 years. He's still on that rookie contract, so somewhere around that area. So yeah, that tracks.
Yeah, it does track. Other news I thought was noteworthy. The Raiders, Derek Carr is going to end up being released because he's not going to do a trade with the Saints. Doesn't mean he won't sign with the Saints, is what I read. But the trade, I guess he would have to do something with his contract that he didn't want to do. So instead, he's going to get cut first. And then one last thing was, this is for anyone who likes F1 and likes gaming. Shroud, who is one of the biggest gamers probably in the world, because of Logitech, went and got to see the new McLaren F1 car and do like a racing simulator with Lando Norris.
Oh, so that's who that was. I didn't know who that was.
That's why I sent that. That's Shroud, Michael. Yeah, that's.
I've never known his real name. I've always known, or not
as Shroud.
I've known who Shroud was for a long time.
Yeah, So Shroud got to go, which is really cool. You're starting to see more crossover with gaming and sports. I think you're going to continue to always see that. Like they're very similar right now. If you're a gaming fan, Rainbow Six Siege having their world championship right now. So yeah, that's just thought that'd be a cool gamer information. But anyways, guys, thank y'all so much for listening to the pod. As always, shout out to Oh No and all the people that helped put us together. If you're listening on YouTube, please comment your favorite color if you made it this far. And we'll meet you in the chat. We'll talk about that next time. Any send off, guys?
Yeah, some at home trivia for folks to ponder. Who was the better third baseman, Mike Schmidt or Chipper Jones? Think about that. We'll answer the question on the next pod.
Later.
Bye, guys.
See ya.